Is that 18 studies that you've done involving benzodiazepines?
Well, that's probably an approximation. I'm not saying they all were totally focused on benzodiazepines, but benzodiazepines were a part of the study. Many of them were studies specifically targeting the use of benzodiazepines in the operating room and also in the intensive care unit for sedation.
During your career, how many books have you read or written?
Probably written.
Excuse me.
Written.
Why don't you re-ask?
During your career as an anesthesiologist, subsequent to your graduation or completion of internship, have you written some books?
I think I've written approximately 15 books, two of which are major textbooks for the specialty, one on ambulatory anesthesia and surgery, or two actually on that topic, and one on intravenous anesthesia.
This XXX, you've itemized 5 textbooks. Are those ones relating to propofol?
Yes, not only propofol, but actually drug manuals, which talk about all the drugs that we use in the perioperative period, which means the time around surgery.
And in addition to writing books, are there chapters that you've written for books?
Yeah, I've written chapters on intravenous anesthesia and ambulatory anesthesia and surgery for most of the major textbooks in the specialty,
And
including my own.
you've written 21 separate chapters?
It's actually 88.
Well, I'm talking about just relating to propofol.
Yes, that's probably a good approximation.
Now, Doctor, how were you contacted in this case?
Well, I think it was in January of this year, actually. I got a phone call sort of from you just out of the blue. I was working from my home office, and you called and introduced yourself and mentioned the name Conrad Murray.
Was that name familiar to you?
Yes, I had heard the name, and I think I paused and was quiet for a minute.
Okay, and when I mentioned that name and mentioned the case involving the death of Michael Jackson,
Yes, you did.
what were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were I really wasn't sure that I wanted to get involved in a high-profile celebrity case involving the death of an icon.
Why not?
I'm just not a public person, and I really don't enjoy all the attention.
Was it my persistence that caused you to look further in this case, or was it some other reason?
Well, in honesty, my wife said I shouldn't say no so quickly, and I think what I suggested to you was, could you send me some materials? When I first heard about the case, I had heard suggestions as to what the causes were, and because I'm very familiar with these drugs, especially propofol and opioids, narcotic drugs were mentioned, I said I agreed to review materials for you. I think it was in early February, and upon review, I would let you know whether I was willing to become involved as part of the defense.
Now, this deal immediately with the elephant in the room here.
Elephant in the room. Okay.
The elephant in the room being Conrad Murray has been accused of infusing a dose of propofol and leaving this patient. Can you justify that?
Absolutely not.
Well, after I sent you the papers, Did you automatically agree then? What did I send you? Do you recall what you had at that time?
Again, I may miss some items, but you sent me Dr. Murray's interview with the LAPD. You sent me the coroner report, toxicology, a plethora of expert documents.
13 expert opinions prior to Dr. Schaefer's?
It was a pretty thick packet. And I think that was all that I recall at the moment.
Did I send you some court testimony from witnesses that appeared at the preliminary hearing?
Yes, I believe you did. Correct.
Was that Dr. Ruffalo, Dr. Rogers?
Yes, it was.
Now, I take it you ended up reading all of that?
Yes, I read all these documents, and I was somewhat perplexed as to how the determination had been made by essentially all of the experts that Dr. Murray was infusing propofol, because in my examination of the documents and the evidence that was described, it wasn't obvious to me. And I thought that there were questions if, in fact, Murray had administered the drugs that he described in his conversations with the police department and the doses that he described. I would not have expected Michael Jackson to have died.
So did you, as a result of reviewing these documents, did you automatically say, yeah, I'm on board?
No, I did not. I actually...
What was your next request?
Well, I think I told you that I would like to meet face-to-face with Dr. Murray, and that
The objection is overruled. The answer remains.
I asked for
That's
the...
all right. That's the answer. The recent partial answer is stricken.
Okay.
Mr. Flanagan, pursuant to discussions.
When you requested, when you said you'd like to meet with Dr. Murray, did you ever have that meeting?
The objection is sustained. 350, 352. Thank you.
Well, prior to making your decision to... May we approach our...
You may. Give us a moment. We can take his cup. Dr. Schaefer, Dr. White, we've had everybody
Do we
asking
look
for
the same?
water. Not at all, and I'm sorry too.
It's all right.
Dr. White, did you want some more water?
I did.
Thank you, sir. Give us a moment.
It's, I can proceed, I just get a little dry
we'll
when
wait
I'm
a moment.
talking.
I think that's Deputy Jones, and I think I can identify you. I apologize. Dr. White has the water. Mr. Flanagan.
Dr. White, you flew to Southern California.
Overruled. You can finish it.
You met with me.
Yeah, I flew to Los Angeles because I have a part-time job, as I mentioned, directing research at Cedars, so I was also visiting Cedars-Sinai at that time and met with you in your office, correct? You and Mr. Chernoff.
You agreed to undertake investigation of this case.
After our meeting, I agreed that I would participate, yes.
Now, were you supplied additional information, the remaining transcripts involving the preliminary hearing?
I believe I was. That would have been sometime, I guess, in February, mid-February, yes.
Now, you developed some preliminary conclusions in this case as a result of your review of the prosecution's evidence at the preliminary hearing and their medical reports?
I did prepare a very brief document. You contacted me and asked for a very brief opinion letter towards the end of February, I believe, and I had a lot of other responsibilities, so I prepared, I think, a 3-page letter.
And at that point in time, you formed some conclusions in that letter that you don't currently hold. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You thought at the time, when you sent that letter, that the oral ingestion of propofol might have played a part in this case?
Well, yes, I did, because there was a small amount of propofol and lidocaine in Mr. Jackson's stomach, and some of the experts that had reviewed the documents had also suggested that possibility, but it certainly was a speculative remark, and I think I suggested that there were no studies demonstrating the bioavailability of oral propofol in either human or animals that I was aware of, and so I suggested that could be a possibility.
Now, when you came up with this conclusion that oral propofol was possibly playing a major part in this case, had there been any studies that you were aware of at the time regarding bioavailability of propofol if taken orally?
No, but I would just like to correct, I didn't draw conclusions. It was merely just speculating on some possibilities of things that could have contributed.
Okay, and so you've done 36 studies involving propofol. Have you ever investigated the bioavailability? Let's get a definition of that term. When I say oral bioavailability, what does that mean?
That means how much of a drug that's given via oral administration